Hello, this is Celeste of Astrology by Celeste, and I just wanted to make a video to talk a little bit about this eclipse season for spring of 2025. This is a really intense time of change, and so many people are talking about it, and there's a lot of concern and fear, myself included, about what is going on in the collective and what kind of eclipses bring, well, lunar eclipses bring full exposure. So what is that going to be? And what is the new start, the Aries eclipse, ushering in for us? So this is such a unique time in history, and I just wanted to make this video to talk through some of what I'm seeing and hopefully be helpful to people to get a perspective or at least feel some kind of sense of an idea of how you can use this time or use your energy through this time of immense change and upheaval. So I gave a talk last year on the eclipses and retrogrades of 2025 for Kepler College. And it's always good to go back and look and see what you said and how it's coming to light. So this talk was given on November 30th. And so we'll just go through some of the things that were around this time period that I want to reflect on and give more context to. I picked this quote and I had no idea how important this quote was going to be when I picked it. What mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unashamed conversation. Glenn Close said this, and OMG, the amount of stress and mental pressure people are under this at this time. I did not realize how severe it was going to be when I created that. But woo. Well, a big thing about this year, which is really unusual, is that we started with three inner planet retrogrades. And why these are important, so the planets can be grouped into different, let's just step back and group the planets into different segments, different buckets. So we've got the sun and the moon. Now, no, they're not planets, they are luminaries, but the sun emits the light, focuses us in on and spotlights things, and the moon is our emotional reaction and reflection of what the sun is. The sun and the moon, the moon cycles are all about them going back and forth. So they are so important. New moons seed things, and then full moons bring revelations and emotional reckonings and full illumination and exposure is what happens for lunar eclipses. And okay, I just got something in my head. Yes, and I'm an astrologer, but last year I had a psychic opening. I'm a Taurus sun, Cancer rising, and Aries moon. And whoo, when my moon was eclipsed, and then my Uranus, which was eclipsed, and I have Uranus at the IC, which can be with like suggests I get intuitive hits and whatnot. And so I call myself, well, I don't call myself a psychic. I call myself an intuitive, but I'm a little bit of a baby psychic. And I had all these things come rushing in, which is the nature of that last eclipse. So what I'm going to be talking about, and I'll try to make it clear, is what is just straight up astrology and what is my intuitive hits or what have you. But this year is really different in that we started it with three retrogrades early on in the year. So in December, we had Mars and Mercury go retrograde, and then, although Mercury went retrograde in November, that doesn't matter. Anyway, and then this year in 2025, we've got Venus and Mercury retrograde, happening in the March timeframe. So like there's this really intensity around the retrograde cycle, which is an affliction of the planets. And I talked about the sun and the moon, and Mercury, Venus, and Mars are the personal planets. So when they go retrograde, which is an optical illusion where they look like they're going backwards in the sky, they're not really. But what it does is it's a great time to go within and do some inner work and all of those RE words. But some things to recognize is that the planet is closer to Earth and there's an intensification of its energy, and it's a symbol of problems, of weakness, that there is more likely to be reversals, delays, disagreements, collapse, erratic events, reoccurrences of previous situations, secrets revealed, ghosts come back. Yeah, if you've lost something, and you may find it when the Mercury's retrograde or something like that. So they can be great. Like, oh my God, I always figure out some kind of thing that could be better. It's a great time to go back and review your work, and you may feel like, oh, you read a sentence and you get just the great idea how to change it, or you find a mistake or things like that, or you find a better way to do something. So they're not something to be scared of, but there are something to recognize when they're happening, to slow down and be more focused and try to not multitask because there's energy for problems. But we're supposed to do the RE word. So these are just the important dates regarding the retrogrades. And March 15th is really important. March 15th through April 7th. Mercury rules transportation, communication, commerce. And one of the things I've been getting, and it may not happen in March, but I've been getting some kind of cyber thing. So that may be, I mean, it's in the astrology, but it may be more of a download. At some point, we're going to be having something that causes a problem where systems go down for a little bit. Now, this could be power, like a power grid or something like that. I was thinking it more like there could potentially be a problem with, banking, like where we could have a week or so where, you can't get money out of the ATM or something like that during this combo Mars Venus retrograde cycle. Because Mercury rules commerce, Venus rules resources like money, and they're both retrograde in the sign of Aries, which is this it's like it feel Aries moves fast, it can be impulsive, and it can be something quick, like something, boom, it shuts off. Really feels like this could be something that's coming. So one of the things I've recommended is that people stock up. I think water is important to have, bottled water. What if something goes on where the water treatment plant in your area has a problem, and for whatever reason, it can't, you shouldn't be drinking from the tap water. So do you have bottled water for a couple of weeks? You don't want to be sitting there and then have to run to the store and stand in line for 6 hours to get a bottle of water. So it's better to, have some now. Non-perishable stuff. Yeah, non-perishable food. Where are your flashlights? Do you know where your batteries are? This is the year of storms and strikes, and the storms could mean your power's out because of a storm or something like that unexpectedly. And with the trade war with Canada, they have informed us that, I mean, there could become a time where they flick off the lights, which will affect some north states that are that get their power from Canada. So, I mean, this is a really a serious time, and what is going on is bonkers in a lot of ways, and it's hard to deal with. So, anyway, but just note these dates, especially on the day of Mercury retrogrades, if you can avoid it, especially with all these plane problems, like not travel. Like if you don't need to take a long trip, like drive 2 hours somewhere, maybe don't because it's a better time to, if you can, stay closer to home. Now, the chances are that something happens that impacts you is slim, but if if you can do what you can do to decrease the chance of, there's bad weather and then there's a car accident and causes a 5 hour traffic jam kind of stuff, then avoid it if possible. So March 15th through April 7th is Mercury retrograde. So especially I feel like that March 14th, 15th, and it may just be information on this one. It may not be, but somewhere there's going to be news of delays or some kind of something. Yeah. Venus went retrograde March 1st through April 12th, is the dates, and Venus rules relationships, recreation, culture, those sorts of things. Mars went retrograde December 6th through February 23rd. So it's direct now, but it's tromping over the old ground it went over. And this is really one of the most significant transits of 2025. I called this too hot to handle. And one of the things that, and so I updated, so this pink writing or whatever you call it, peach, was what I put there before I did the Kepler thing. Because mm, what did I do? I must have done something mid-December because it had already started. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Um, but Mars went retrograde conjunct the North Node in the eighth house of the United States chart. And when a planet goes retrograde, it's like grinding the energy into it. And the North Node is an amplifier. Leo is a fire sign. And and it also has associations with groups. And the eighth house is an unfortunate house. It rules death and rebirth. It's our shadows where things we'd rather disown are. But in mundane astrology, which is the astrology of worldly event, there is danger from wars, natural disasters, sudden accidents, losses from accidents, crime, and fire. So, what are we seeing now? I mean, the LA fires, then we had fires in South Carolina and North Carolina in the middle of winter. I mean, it's incredible what's going on. And now there are fires in Long Island, which is so unusual. So we're seeing as Mars goes back over this, and Mars is still in Cancer. It has not gotten to Leo. It opposes Pluto April 26th. So that's a big date that there can be some culmination where we really understand. April 26th, around then, really understand some more about this cycle, this Mars in the eighth house. And the eighth house also has to do with war. So dangers from wars is still something that is going on. And we're in a war. We're in a trade war with our closest neighbors, Canada and Mexico, as well as China and Europe, I guess, as well, too. So here we are with all these tariffs, which are going to bring higher prices to the American people. But yeah, so, but this fire, we've seen all these fires going on in the US. People are so furious with Elon Musk. There are certain people who are being violent and attacking Teslas, like setting them on fire and doing stuff like that in addition to all the protests. So we're seeing these are the things we're seeing fire. We saw people trying to set fires, got caught trying to set fires in LA after the main fire broke out. That was due to it was some kind of electricity tower or whatever. So yeah, power station or whatever. So we're seeing this. We're seeing natural disasters. We're seeing we're seeing sudden losses from fire. I'm concerned there may be some crime stuff that I'll bring up, but this is the intensity of this Mars retrograde cycle. And now we are, so what happened was Mars passed its shadow October 5th. Oh, so I think I did have this from when I did my November talk. Yeah, because it passed its it entered this zone on October 5th of 2024, and then it went, ooh, it looks like it stops and it intensifies the energy on the north node of the United States on December 6th, and then went all the way back to the 17 Cancer, and ooh, da 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 da, intense, intense, intense. And then now it's like at an 18 Cancer right now. So it's been at 18 Cancer since February 23rd. I'm recording this in March 9th. So yeah, so now, so it's moving very slowly, but slowly forward over old ground, and it'll be opposing Pluto at, I think, at 3 degrees, April 26th, and then it'll pass back in May. It'll be out of its shadow. But what this means is that there's three-part story, three coats of paint, one of my teachers, Rebecca Gordon, would say. And sometimes people need all three coats to learn the lesson, but that you're learning from this. But yeah, we're going over old ground. And yeah, this is one of the things I had said. Conflicts around beliefs and deception revealed. Conflict around beliefs. At the end of December, there was this MAGA civil war that was absolutely bonkers, where there was fighting over the visas for foreign people. Deception revealed. There's more of that coming. I can't think of anything right now, but there is a lot of work being done trying to figure out. Greg Palast is someone who's done a lot of work on the election and some funny business that he sees in the results of it. Yeah, banking and financial crisis. Well, the market's dropping like a stone, and see how at this time Venus. So this chart gives gives the nature of the whole cycle, and you see Mars is stationing when the chart is cast for the United States. It's stationing in the second house to go retrograde. The second house is a house of money, finances, banking, all of these kinds of things. We saw, yeah. And the moon is in the ninth house of long distance foreign affairs and the legal affairs, things like that. The moon rules the people. Yeah. And Venus is a natural ruler of money, and it's at 29 degrees of Capricorn, a degree of crisis and decay in the sign of governments and big business, and conjunct Pluto in Aquarius. Look at this. I didn't catch this till just now but that Venus conjunct Pluto in Aquarius, the Elon Musk is basically a co-president, it feels like, to the people of America, and he's an Aquarian, a Pluto and Aquarius figure. He's the wealthiest man in the world, and he has Twitter and this tech. He's very big in tech, and yeah, he has this team of hackers going all over the government, supposedly cutting costs and finding fraud and all of this kind of stuff. But how interesting, they're only taking away stuff that benefits the people, like national parks, Medicaid, um, the lower prices for prescription drugs and things like that. Not $1 has been removed from SpaceX's. They get it's millions of dollars a day from the American people. His space company gets, and that's Pluto and Aquarius too. He wants to go to Mars and use all our money, burn all our money up trying to get to Mars. Yes. Okay. And what else did I want to say? Yeah, potential for political violence. Things are really, people are getting agitated, but we're seeing political violence in other places. Anyway, let's keep going. But what happened on January 11th, the North Node went into Pisces and the South Node went into Virgo. And this is the bigger story behind everything. The nodes talk about what the collective is focused on. And Pisces and Virgo are the axis of well-being, mental Pisces and physical health Virgo. And Pisces energy, they're both mutable signs. So there's this changeable energy. And it's like Pisces can be like it's two fish swimming in opposite directions. So it can feel like you don't know where you're going. You lost your footing. Like one minute you thought you knew where you were going, the next minute, and this happened, a couple of weeks before the inauguration. Uh, and ooh, and people were always starting to get nervous with this trade, with the talk about tariffs and Canada being the 51st state, and we're taking Greenland and the Panama Canal and all of this nonsense. Yeah. And then what have we seen since then? Well, I've said one of the themes of this is question all. Virgo is a sign that's analytical, that separates the wheat from the chaff, that gets really critical. You look into systems and start like analyzing things. That's what Elon Musk and his team are supposedly doing, looking for fraud. And I'm sure there's fraud, and they'll find, some of the stuff they found. Yeah, but did what? Yeah, but there's a lot of pixie dust being thrown out. Like just this last week, the president said something about transgender mice. We were spending all this money on transgender mice research. No, we're not. It's transgenic mice, and it's for disease disease research to help cure diseases, and it's nothing to do with the culture wars. So yeah, it's just all this deception, magnification of deception, amplification of deception, and it's 10 times worse than we've seen in other times because the North Node is next to Neptune, which is just very diffuse and spreads things. So it's like everything, the amplification is on steroids, it feels like, where, oh my God, which way are we going? Da 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 da. So bread and circuses. Like there's all this, I feel like the circuses is there's this constantly being thrown out, like just bonkers things that are silly, that aren't that are meaningless, but trying to get people's attentions, a circus, like we're renaming the Gulf of Mexico. I mean, it matters none to people's daily lives. It doesn't matter about putting food on people's table, but it gets people jazzed up, and there's every other day it's some nonsense. So I can't think of all of the nonsense, like the transgender mice and all of this. And yeah, there were supposedly condoms for Gaza. It was not Gaza in Gaza. It was something in Africa to prevent HIV or something like that, which maybe you feel like, oh, we shouldn't be spending money on that. Fine, but don't lie to people. Yeah. And bread, there's like, oh, maybe we'll give you some money maybe we'll give everybody in the country $5,000 in order to, with the savings from Doge, which are very made up kind of, which has been analyzed and shown. And, oh, maybe we'll eliminate the federal income tax. Oh, maybe we'll take away tax on tips, all this like dangling things out. And maybe some of these things will happen, but mm, there's the hardship that's coming is not going to balance out that. Yeah, storms and strikes. I was thinking water storms would be the prevalence, but firestorms, which makes sense. Neptune is going into Aries, and you can feel the energy of a planet moving, but it's firestorms. The Mars on the North Node. Yeah, and there's also been water storms and tornadoes and such. But this is a year and a year and a half of storms being amplified with the North Node conjunct Neptune as the North Node went into Pisces. And strikes, there's all these labor strikes and like strikes meaning cutting employees. Virgo rules people who the workers of an organization and like the people who serve the government are Virgo type people. Yeah, they're doing stuff against women, whatever. We knew that was coming. And not whatever, but I don't want to get into it. But information leaks and accountability demands. People are wanting, yeah, what are you doing in our Social Security? Why are you nosing around in this? Why are you bringing these hackers in there? There's an amplification of deception and people feeling gaslit. Yeah. Why are we going to war against Canada over supposedly a suitcase full of fentanyl? So we're going to ruin our economy because a little bit of fentanyl came from Canada. Maybe don't do fentanyl and that'll solve the problem, kind of thing. We're supposed to believe we're going to war with Canada over fentanyl. No, there's something else going on underneath the surface. We want their resources for AI or something like that. Yes. Yeah, religion, spirituality, and charity surged as the North Node moved from Aries into Pisces with the horrible fires in LA. And what we were watching when this happened was people like going and bringing all these donations to try to help people that had suffered this great loss. So we're going to be seeing as these losses happen, there's a lot of planets at 29 degrees of the signs, which are endings. And with storms, they could be coming anywhere, and there's going to be more likely in the fall for sure, like hurricane type stuff. We're having eclipses in the sign of Pisces, which is a water sign, and suggests it's dispersal of things. Yeah, so there can be a lot going on with that. So if you can give what you can give, that is so helpful to people who are suffering loss. Institutions like hospitals and prisons reimagine. Now, did I know the Trump administration was going to go after the VA? They're like cutting off all these thousands of VA, which has been understaffed for decades. They're taking away services from our veterans who have sacrificed so much. Neptune in Aries. Aries is the fighter, the soldier. This starts March 30th. And uh, okay, so now they can't get help, especially it may have been reversed when these things come to the public's attention, some of them are reversed, but for at least a while, the suicide hotline for veterans the funding was taken away. So it's just some unbelievable things are going on with that. Prisons reimagined. Marco Rubio, who's our Secretary of State, made a deal with El Salvador, who has these to send migrants and American prisoners there to their prisons for housing, which is completely illegal you can't send Americans to South American jail. I'm pretty sure that's cruel and unusual punishment for what's going on down there in those prisons. Yeah, but this is idea. Pisces rules those who are um, disadvantaged and powerless, like the homeless, drug addicts, refugees, people who are seriously ill. These are people are Piscean. So with the North Node there, where like there's some focus on them. And yeah, oil, drill, baby, drill, and all this stuff. But yeah, oceans, clean water. There were some regulations that forced companies to meet certain standards that have been taken down by this administration. Yeah, farmland workers, supply chain concerns. I thought the workers were not going to get the fired until the fall. I didn't, it just came in so fast and chaotically. With Mars retrograde, actions are ineffectual. Mars is in the sign, is in the sign of its fall as this administration started in Cancer. So it's just a lot of upheaval and craziness. But I want to focus. Now I've been talking, talking, talking. I want to, my idea was to focus on the eclipses, and I'm just getting to them. But anyway, yeah. So eclipses are karmic turning points of great beginnings and endings. Solar eclipses are powerful new moons where they can bring new beginnings, new starts in identity or health, events you did not plan on, events that need immediate attention. Lunar eclipses are powerful full moons that can be times 10 or 10,000, depending on your chart, where light is shed on darkness and there's full exposure of others. And you can make a big published splash, but often you can also burn off old parts of yourself. There's something about releasing and letting go. So there's expansion of concerns around peace. We're trying to wrap up these wars all over the place, and not going very well so far. Spirituality. This is a time where, I mean, surrender. What can we do besides surrender in some ways and then figure out how we want to take action? Do we want to protest? Do we want to, like, what do we do? But there's things outside our control that we cannot, you know, we can't stop that we can't stop on our own. Now, the power is with the people, with Pluto and Aquarius, so we are working to band together. But yeah, religion, water sources. You can just read these. I'm not going to read them all. Yeah, do whatever you can to take care. If your feet are giving you any trouble, Pisces rules the feet, that's something to take care of. Now, the North Node is an amplifier. The South Node is a drain, or it makes a big sucking sound. When the South Node's on one of your planets, doing something where you are giving selflessly is the best way to utilize this energy because it's a releasing energy. Why don't you release something that is helpful to others? Yeah, this is me releasing information about because this lunar eclipse is on my Pluto, which, oh my goodness, this brings up, and it's in my third house. So I have realized some of my deepest fears are coming up because we could be heading towards an big economic crash. So that has been making me feel very uncertain and scared because I don't want to lose all the I worked for over decades in my corporate career because of this person making these crazy decisions that don't make any logical sense to anyone with an understanding of economics. Yes, but that's neither here nor there. Okay, so expansion of concerns around public service workers. Oh my God, look at how many workers have gotten fired. 220,000 people have been fired from the government. It's only March. Just mass people put out of work. That impacts companies who are involved with these departments. So what does that mean about these companies? They have to put like potentially lay off people. And it's just like a domino effect. And I saw this like dominoes falling, dominoes falling. Yeah. Yeah, great. Yeah, caretakers, bureaucracy. There's all the chainsaw to bureaucracy. That's what Elon Musk was wielding around a chainsaw as Mars Station Direct. Public health, bees. Bees are really having a very difficult year. The populations are down. And just yesterday, there was something about butterflies are in crisis. There's a catastrophic reduction in butterfly numbers, and they're very important. They're a food source for certain insects and whatnot. Our ecological systems are very complex, but fragile. Like if all the bees died, we wouldn't be far behind them, kind of thing. So these things are serious, even though our current administration, which people, large millions voted for, does not believe in doing anything to steward or protect the earth. So this is where we are. Raw materials. So now with the trade war, like Canadian cars, Canadian Canadian and Mexico are very involved with our car manufacturing in the US. And now it's going to be all screwed up in April when the tariffs come on, that it could literally 25%, the cost of a car could go up 25%. Yeah. Data systems, this is why I think, well, we know that all this stuff is being extracted from our data systems. And yeah, maybe that's what that's all about. Yeah, unemployment. Yeah, we know there is a huge amount of people losing their jobs. So there's a drain on the jobs that workers do, the public sector workers, South Node and Virgo. And there's an amplification of North Node and Pisces, people needing um what do you call it? People needing work the thing you get when you're out of work. The not disability, it's called workman's comp. No, not workman's comp. You know what I mean? When you don't have a job, you go and you get the unemployment benefits. But these people have been laid off. So how do you get your unemployment benefits? Especially since they told everyone they were fired for lack of a performance, even people who gotten stellar reviews. I mean, this stuff is unbelievable. And Virgo rules the intestines. How many people's guts are churning from all of the stress of everything that's going on? And people like Pisces is mental health. How many people are stressed out of their minds or like imagining or catastrophizing? This is what we're under. And the Venus retrograde started on March 1st. On February 28th was the meeting with Zelensky and JD Vance and Donald Trump. And look at this chart where, okay, so the midheaven of the United States is at 1 degrees of Libra. So that's the ascendant of this chart, which represents like the country and its reputation kind of thing. So, but we can see this is like Trump and JD Vance, the executive branch, sitting here. And then we have the seventh house is your allies as well as open enemies, but Ukraine is an ally. So Zelensky comes to meet with them, and he is attacked by the unexpectedly. There was like this sneak attack that happened to him. Our guest, Venus, who was invited to a meeting. Venus wants to collaborate and whatnot in the sign of Aries, was attacked. So it looked like they were making a deal for Venus sextile Jupiter and Gemini. We were supposed to be making a deal for some minerals, which that's a whole nother story, like basically extorting them for their resources because we helped them in the war, where some people may say that we should demand payment, but this is how the United States has worked and cultivated its status as a superpower since World War II. And one of the main goals was to create a stable world where we moved away from people just going and snatching other people's countries. And we helped rebuild Europe, seeing it as being in our best interest to partner in that way rather than take a view of just like trying to dominate everyone in a colonial type mindset. So these are different mindsets, but neither here nor there. So he is our guest, and they were going forward. Venus was go in direct motion, da, 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 and then there's this attack, and then the deal is off. But you see the moon's conjunct Venus, people, most of the United States, I would think, is on Zelensky's side and horrified how someone was treated in front of the world in a diplomatic meeting. And in fact, J.D. Vance got chased off the ski slopes in Vermont because of how horribly he treated Vladimir Zelensky. I was calling him Vladimir on my podcast. And it's like, yeah. So alliances of all kind fracture. That I mean, literally, this meeting has led to basically Europe saying we need to go it alone, and they're all pulling back from the United States. Europe is pulling back. Canadians recognize that they can't rely on us at all. Visitors get out. Literally, Zelensky was thrown out of the White House. So it wasn't, they haven't done the Muslim ban yet, but they're deporting all kinds of students who did anything in terms of the college campus protests. Yeah, migrants. Oh my God. Yeah. Well, that they said they were going to do that. So that's nothing new or surprising. But I talked about setting fire to the rain. Yeah. Mm. Setting fire to the rain. We'll see how. And this is so interesting because Venus goes from its detriment back into its sign of exaltation and then back into detriment. Because Pisces, it's exalted, which is like lifted up with a special seat at the table, honored guest. And I wonder, who knows, maybe he was invited when Venus was in Pisces. By the time he got there, Venus is in Aries and he's being treated like trash. Aries is like someone cast out of their estate. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to cast Zelensky out of his estate. They're trying to take his job away. They want him to not be the head of Ukraine so that Putin can do whatever he wants to the country. Yeah. Cutting the purse strings. Yeah, Ukraine aid's gone. Who's gone? NATO, I wouldn't be surprised if that is coming even this week. That could be the lunar eclipse. We're done with NATO or something like that. Yeah. Oh, there's all sorts of women's. Every time you turn around, these people who want to turn the United States into Gilead, the red states, especially in the South, are making things harder for women to have any kind of freedom or whatnot. Yeah. Oh, the latest thing is, I don't remember what date it was, but they're trying to pass some law that essentially means that if your birth certificate doesn't match your voter ID, you can't vote. So married women who've changed their names are going to be put through the ringer to try to be able to vote. And they knew exactly what they were doing when they did this. So don't believe the lies. Don't believe the pixie dust that they did not know what they were doing when you could just bring your marriage license. No, they won't let that. Okay. So they really do not want women to vote. And this is one of their core objectives. Okay. So executive branch secrets revealed. Yeah, that's more and more of that is coming. So the lunar eclipse, I called this slash and burn. So I guess I knew slash and burn is and things come in like 6 weeks before with these. And there was a lunar eclipse last September 17th, I believe, which was at 25 Pisces. And now we're having the opposite at 23 Virgo. So the lunar eclipse in Pisces was the pager bombs exploded in Lebanon, the attack from Israel on Lebanon, Hezbollah. That was, and now we have the flip. And it'll be really interesting to see what goes on. Netanyahu could be a big story because his midheaven is 23-ish degrees of Virgo. So there could be a big story about um, him. Yeah, the leader of Israel. So we'll see what happens on Friday. Like there could be the payback for that event or something. Let's see. Now, I think a big story, well, we know already a big story about this. The last 6 weeks, what has been going on? Elon Musk running rampaging through our government, just firing people willy-nilly, including people who worked at nuclear power plants and on evil of research and all of this kind of stuff. And just with like a chainsaw rather than a scalpel, which has made us very vulnerable because I'm sure a lot of workers are stressed out of their minds, the ones who are still there about, am I going to have a job next week? Da, 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 da. And not as focused or paying attention, like the stress and anxiety could lead to someone missing something or making a miscalculation, especially because on this day of this eclipse, there is Mercury stations to go retrograde in the sign of Aries. So, like the Aries, Mercury and Aries, hot-headed, impulsive, like, yeah, angry, like that people aren't focused. And then there's going to be some big event, which is of the nature of Mercury retrograde in Aries. Now it's in the third house. So that could be information that comes out. It could be some kind of event on public transportation or we've already seen that, where in Europe there was an unexploded bomb from World War II, which was found, and they had to shut down the trains all over the place, where it really caused all these delays for people trying to travel. That was last week. But Mercury has been slowing down for a while. Yeah, so this eclipse is really tough because you see the sun and Saturn are conjunct. Now it's separating. So there's going to be some big event where the sun comes to Saturn and Pisces, putting a spotlight on Saturn and Pisces themes. We know the Pope is sick. He's a Saturn and Pisces type person, a spiritual leader. So this could be about him stepping down. He's like 88 years old because he just can't do the job anymore and then finding a new pope or what have you. Or, yeah. So all of this, there could be news around that. Um, the ninth house is overseas. It also rules religion. So that could be a part of the story. The Pope steps down. Um, yeah, and on the 11th, this is something I've been looking at for a while. Mercury, I did a talk about this. Mercury and Venus will have just met at 8 degrees of Aries, and they're mutually applying to each other. So they're going towards each other. Now, Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, something from the past, a deal from the past could be coming, Mercury could be reported on. So really pay attention to what news is released on the 11th. We know already there's something about Elon Musk's Tesla in Canada that all these rebates were claimed on that may be fraudulent. It's like supposedly they sold like 8,000 cars in a day or something from a few deals. There's some funny business that's being reported on, so that story may break wide open. Elon Musk's Pluto is being eclipsed and he is being taken down. Pluto can humble, humiliate, disempower. It's a south node lunar eclipse. His Pluto's in Virgo. And so there could be big stories about him for that. We also know his rocket exploded. I think part of the story of this lunar eclipse could be the rocket exploded and over Florida, and the people of Florida are furious about this because A bunch of flights were grounded. It could have taken this was at the first quarter moon in Gemini. Yes, that's when the bomb was diffused in that's when the bomb was diffused in what do you call that place? Europe. That was, and all the trains were stopped. It was the day after the first quarter moon in Gemini. Gemini rules transportation. And then, uh, ooh, and then that rocket, SpaceX rocket exploded. And apparently debris was going everywhere. And, it could have fallen on people. I mean, it was something that's really visceral, I imagine, for the people of Florida. And the reason this is important is because there is a there is a special election on April 1st where it could change the balance of power in the United States House of Representatives because there are two races that Republicans normally would assume were, my understanding is, secure, but if they go Democratic, there's only two votes, there's only two majority of two in the House, and so if that changes, there could be a big power shift where the Trump administration can't do everything willy-nilly without Congress doing anything about it. So that's a big deal. And that would be a perfect thing to happen because Elon Musk has Mercury on his ascendant and it goes retrograde, and his actions or how he's perceived leads to people changing their minds. Mercury rules the thought processes about who they're going to vote for and in the election. And it's like, okay, we need to get this guy under control. And so the balance of power shifts. That could be, but yeah. The trade war to protect, yeah, makes it harder to get supplies. So that's part of the reason I'm saying stock up. And yeah, highway rail travel issues. I think there's going to be something about the press. I mean, they're already like pressuring press people, but if they start really hassling people from the press, that's going to be something. So it may not happen on the day, but typically within a month or so, something will happen of the nature of these. And we already see some of these stories coming in. We already know the confirmation process has been a circus. Yeah. Mars is squaring Chiron. This is also the fires. Mars rules fire, Chiron and Aries. The US is in a Chiron return. Um, Chiron in Aries is conjunct the icy. Storms, fire, gun violence, assassination attempts. Oh, I said livestock diseases back then. I think this was before bird flu. I don't know. Maybe it was. Yeah, bird flu is a big problem. And the price of eggs is through the roof. But I'm talking too long. This was supposed to be quick. It's not quick. Sorry. But here's the Mercury in Aries, Mercury retrograde in Aries. So there could be a big event this week. So just if your spidey senses start tingling, get out of somewhere, cross the street. Do not allow trying to be nice or not making a scene get in the way of you not listening to your inner voice or your angels or your, ancestors trying to protect you. So, yeah. So you have the moons in Libra. So this could be a big court case thing. Or, yeah. Oh, divorce court. This is so interesting. Mercury hasn't gone retrograde yet, but now the MAGA people are angry at Amy Coney Barrett, one of the Supreme Court justices, and they're calling her a DEI hire and all of this nonsense because she voted in according with the law. Yeah, but yeah, conflicts and disagreements, trading partners and neighbors over finances, domestic violence. So this is something I'm worried about, that during this cycle, there'll be some kind of violence. We're already seeing it, like burning up the Teslas and all of this kind of stuff. There were some terrorist attacks at the beginning of the year, but yeah, really be mindful when you're out and about, especially if you're in a public place, about if you get like if your hair starts standing up on the back of your neck, just don't ignore it. And I wonder if the press will be demanded to reveal sources. So we'll see. And this exits the shadow on the same day as the April 26th Mars opposite Pluto, which could be some kind of attack of some sort. Okay. Now, the solar eclipse, see how I'm saying, watch your back. And these are the cycles, but the Saros cycle, which is of the nature of it, you can think back to 2007 and 1989, what was going on in your life. There may be something that's has a similarity to it, or March of 2006. There was an eclipse at the same place on these days. The Metonic cycles to the same degree. The Saros cycle is of the same nature. So I'm saying watch your back, because all of this 12th house stuff suggests hidden enemies are doing something potentially, or this could be about prisons, hospitals, that sort of things. But there's going to be some kind of event on this day, the 29th of March, that is important, because the next day Neptune goes into Aries. So what in zero Aries is a world point. What are we talking about? That's the Neptune and Aries symbology. And it could be many things. I started writing down a list of things. Um, oh shoot, where did I put it? See if I can find it. Oh, I wrote down Neptune and Aries. Well, at the lunar eclipse, veterans are doing a march against the government, a protest march, because they're losing their jobs. They've been talked to like they're garbage, by the Trump administration, talking about they don't deserve their jobs, or maybe they're not fit for this or that, the other thing. They're losing their benefits and all kinds of stuff. So they're hopping mad. And I wrote down, are they intentionally trying, meaning the administration, intentionally trying to make the veterans mad? Is the cult, I consider the MAGA people a cult, because that's, yeah. North Node conjunct Neptune and Pisces, that's like a cult figure, has captured the attention of people. I mean, he, they were told that things were going to get bad before they got better, but with no clarity of when they were going to get better, from what I can tell. And you can't just crash the market and guarantee you're going to be able to make things better. So anyway, oh, and I think the stock market crash, or just a big dip, it might not be a crash, but a big dip could be part of this lunar eclipse. We're already seeing it. Yeah. So. Okay, are they intentionally trying to make the veterans mad? Is the cult so far gone that they don't respect people who fought for this nation anymore? The people are fighting mad. There will be peaceful marches or tear gas in the streets by summer, is what I wrote down. The king will use any excuse for martial law. So, like if if people, and I feel like there could be people with Neptune and Aries could be fighting peacefully. So I feel like people, the masses of people, could be protesting peacefully, which doesn't give the the Trump administration the excuse to institute martial law. So we'll see how this goes. And maybe I shouldn't be saying that. I don't know. I try to, like when I'm writing on Instagram, I try to use code so it doesn't flag, but we'll see. Okay, so this is what I have. Oh, I wish I knew where I put that list. Well, I can't find it, but what I can find is like when I get these downloads, I just started writing them down and they come in like snippets. So number one was reversal at the courthouse. We already have started to see that with the Trump administration, things have been reversed. Attacks on public works. The public parks, these public lands, which land, Virgo's an earth sign. So this really feels like the South Node in Aries. They fired all these people who work in public parks that are, and these are the nations, they belong to the people, and the administration is going to be taking them away and drilling on them and cutting down trees potentially. Talked about we don't need Canada's lumber, we can just cut our own trees down. I mean, anyway, so attack on public works. But I'm a little Sun Saturn in Pisces. This could also be someone monkeying around with water system. And we already saw this. The government forced California to open some to release water from a reservoir or something that did nothing to help the fires, but could have like drowned people's farmland. It was just so stupid. But yeah, we've already seen that. But there could be something where water systems are a problem. So just keep that in mind. If your water smells funny, don't drink it. Drink the bottled water. Okay. Baggage claim. We'll see what that is. I hope it's not something bad, but I wrote it down. Or there's something with suitcases, something could be, I don't know. I'm not getting into that. I wrote down the Rough Riders, payback that I've already brought up. What if, yeah. Well, there's already saying payback, like because Zelensky didn't wear a suit or grovel, and the status of Ukrainian immigrants in the country has been revoked. So now they have to go back to a war zone or find somewhere else where they can go. Yeah, it's just horrible. Um, and justice for one, we already know that. Small fry, we'll see how that shows up. Small fry, interesting. Turn the Hollywood. First, I wrote sign off, and then I wrote shine off. That one of the things Project 2025 is they think they could take control of culture, which you can't control culture. You can't fake influence, which Kendrick Lamar said at the Super Bowl. You can't fake influence. So that is going to be a really tough battle, but we'll see. I think they're going after, we already know they're trying to go after Hollywood people. Like they tried to start a rumor that Jennifer Aniston and Obama were having an affair, like trying to gin up, hatred towards her, one of the most popular celebrities, yeah, to the MAGA people. It hasn't permeated normal news that I can see. Okay. California is in focus. So when the set to Sacramento. So we'll see what goes on if something happens here. Uranus is conjunct the attacks on the opposition party. So we'll see how that goes. Court-martialed. We'll see if a distinctive career ends in notoriety. Well, we've already seen like some high-profile people in the military fired. So we'll see if anything else is going on. It's very important for Russia. Okay, so here's the solar eclipse. So this Aries is a sign that rules conflict and violence, but it also, because the nodes are in Virgo and Pisces, I'm more concerned about, like, there could be violence, but health could be something. We know Aries rules the head, it rules inflammation. We have a measles outbreak where people have all of these spots on their faces. There is a new disease in the Congo and there's something I've read, it's something about eyes bleeding. I mean, yeah, I said with Neptune in Aries and Saturn going into Aries, something where there's some kind of like bleeding out of the eyes or face, or like something we see on people's faces could be part of this story. So the news, it could be news about an Aries type illness that comes to us with a solar eclipse, and then the next day, Neptune and Aries. I think we're going to be talking about a military mistake with Mercury retrograde in Aries on 0 degrees Aries, which is a world point. We'll see. Or we can be talking about conflict. This impacts Iran's chart a lot because this is on their sun. I think this could be symbolic of the election where the Congress, if the balance of power shifts, that would be symbolic of this Aries eclipse. But there could also be some kind of a violent attack that impacts people in the US because it's right conjunct the ascendant. I would stay off public transport if I could. If you can stay close to home, I would. The chances of something happening to you are slim, but people are apoplectic. They're losing their minds. People turn to violence when, when they're having mental health crises. So that is something. And, with the president making that fake video about, or posting that fake video about Trump Gaza, where they had the Hamas fighters in skirts and, lavishing on a beach in a war zone where 40,000 plus people have been murdered in a war, and this horrible war and the horrible terrorist attack. I mean, it's just been horrific what's been going on in Israel and Gaza since October 7th of 2023. So somebody could get really mad about that and decide to make an attack. Women, be extra careful with Venus retrograde in Aries. Like men, there was something going on. This was a while ago where men were like just hitting women in the head in New York City, just randomly. So just be extra careful around your personal safety. And yeah, if you see a guy acting weird, get away from him. Yeah, is what I would recommend. Or be ready to defend yourself. I've recommended women take self-defense classes. I carry a stun gun when I'm out and about, mostly to protect my dog and myself, but just in case there was a dog or something trying to hurt him. But it's a good idea just to be aware, to be extra mindful, to protect yourself, especially the 28th, 27th, 28th, 29th, and the 13th, 14th, 15th of March. These are dates where extra care. But a leader is probably going to fall. So a leader is probably going to fall somewhere. Now we know the Pope is ill. Benjamin Netanyahu's chart is very impacted, but he rose at the last one as a Libra. Yeah, we'll see what happens with him. I was listening to this woman, Linda G, who's a psychic, and she thinks he might be get into hot water. And I've been predicting that he was going to have a fall since last year. So we'll see if he has a fall. Trump, his chart is so activated. Saturn is squaring his sun. There could be, he could have a health event any day, or we know, people are so apoplectic trying to hurt him. So, but he's got a lot of luck on his side. So we'll see what goes on with that. I was wondering if Don Jr. would make news about something. This eclipse is on his 10th house south node. Now, apparently, he is running for office. And this was one of mine, the oldest boy. So before I found out he was running for office, I wrote down the oldest boy because there was that show, what's it called? Succession, where Kendall's all, I am the oldest boy. Yeah, this keeps coming to me. So, and like Uday and Qusay for Saddam Hussein's kids. Yeah, I'm getting that kind of imagery. Something about an oldest boy. Who's oldest boy? I don't know. We'll see. The parable of Job. A lot of people are feeling life is like a parable of Job. One day they've lost their jobs and a lot of MAGA people or people who voted for Trump, not necessarily MAGA. There's a lot of people who voted for him are not part of that hardcore thing. They got cut, or farmers got they had made the Biden administration was investing in them, and then their contracts were just canceled. So they're mad. The wedding date, we'll see what that's about. Yeah. And burning down the house. So that could be, well, Donald Trump is burning down our financial futures with his erratic actions that are deeply hurting the economy. But there's also the potential for the house to have something. And the wedding date, I mean, Bezos is supposed to marry his fiance, but she's going off on a rocket with Katy Perry, Gayle King, and somebody else. And I don't know. It's with Venus and Mercury retrograde. Maybe the trip will just be delayed, but I wouldn't be surprised if they had some kind of problem with that flight. But maybe not. Let's hope not. Let's hope everybody stays safe. But it seems like really bad timing to be blasting off with Mercury and Venus both retrograde. I don't know the exact date. They didn't say it, but it looked like it was during Mercury retrograde, Venus retrograde, because Katy Perry has a tour that's coming up in April. So before Mars opposite Pluto in Aquarius, good night. But yeah, maybe Mars and Leo opposite Pluto in Aquarius. A celebrity is blasting off. Katy Perry is blasting off. And baby, you're a firework into the sky. Hopefully she comes back safely. Okay, let's see. Anything else? Yeah. Okay, so I partner with Tiffany Herlick. She has created this amazing calendar where it puts all the transits on your phone or laptop and gives you a big description about what it means and maybe and suggestions and guidance. It's incredible. She's worked so hard on this and added for the time I've been involved with her, she's added the Sabian symbols for all of the moon phase is. She's added some fixed stars, and yeah, it's really wonderful. So you can go to tiffanyherlick.com, shop happy, and use my coupon code ABC25 for $10 off the calendar. There's also a workbook if you want. It's $5 off the workbook. It's ABC workbook. But it's really good to know, especially if you're planning a trip. Do not travel when Mars is square Saturn. This suggests there's going to be some delays, Saturn delays, or problems moving your energy forward, or there's just conflicts, or maybe you will not have as good a time as if you go when Venus is trine Jupiter. That's a good time, most likely, as long as there's, you have to look at the whole picture, but yeah, but why would you, or Mars opposite Saturn, why would you do that? You're trying to move forward and something is blocking you, and if not you, people around you, so they're frustrated in some way, or just somebody has a funky attitude or something like that. Mars and Saturn are the malefics, Venus and Jupiter are the benefics. So it can give you help to understand if you're planning something, you're trying to pick days, like avoiding days of difficulty. And upcoming events. My transits class for Kepler College, a 5-week class. You've got to know how to read a natal chart. You've got to know the basics. This is not for a beginner. You got to know the basics of how to read a natal chart. And then this class is to help you learn how to use transits to forecast the future. You can go, I'll put links in the caption. I'm speaking at NORWAC on secondary progressions on Sunday, May 25th in Seattle. And I'm going to be teaching a track on predictive astrology in Park City, Utah, October 15th through 19th. You can go to opaastrology.com, org, to sign up for that. I need to get it on my website too, but these two are on my website. But I'm going to put links to all of it in the notes. And oh, these are just some books. I love this book, Eclipses and You. Oh my God, it's so good for eclipses. I have it on my desk. I would tell you more. Oh, and if you want solar fire, this is my code, Celeste 15, 15% off solar fire. Yeah, I got a coupon code for a lot of things. And I'm on all the socials. I put some of my like predictive stuff on Threads and Blue Sky sometimes, but Blue, it's too much for me to do both. I'm just having a trouble for that. But these are, oh, and actually it's Wednesdays at 10 a.m. I changed it from 9 to 10 a.m. But go to my website, book a reading if you want to talk about what's going on for you. Neptune and Aries, I've been talking so long. I wanted to make this a tight like half an hour. I have no idea how long I've been talking, but I know it's probably an hour, maybe more. Sorry, I'm trying to be concise, but there's so much going on and Neptune and Aries. So you can see what are we going to be looking at? We can be looking at a fire spreading somewhere. We can be looking at Neptune can be gas or poison or something. Neptune can be spirituality, like yeah. Like yeah. I've got cremation came to my mind. So yeah, there could be, or just news could come out. Oh, I've been thinking there may be like something come out about the fires in LA, something uncovered in the rubble or something. We'll see if anything like that comes up. We know that like some of this stuff is seeping into the ocean? And would there be some kind of contaminant or crime scene or something that comes up? That could be part of Mercury retrograde, which it's going back. It's going to trine. It's going back over old ground. So, ooh, something could come up about yeah, these fires. But a lot of be prepared. Things are going to be revealed. I think Elon Musk is going to get some kind of comeuppance with what he's done. His karma is getting ripe for, and we already see it. Tesla's crashing, the SpaceX exploded. Yeah, he may be in big trouble with Canada if it turns out, or his company in big trouble with Canada if it turns out they've been falsifying and committing fraud on these rebates from the government. Yeah, the South Node in Virgo is digging into the records and bringing things out to show you what's this? Why is this? Yeah, and some of them are legitimate, some of them are transgender mice. It's not real. It's a misreading, I guess, or just trying to deceive people, sprinkling pixie dust. Look at what we're doing. I think it's the biggest casino heist in history where they are taking money away from the people of the United States in our national parks, in our Social Security, in our, all of our services that the people who answer the phone or people who do the work to help people like who need Medicaid and Medi-Cal and all of these kind of stuff. Yeah, making it so hard that yeah, and there's thoughts that the Social Security system could collapse, and this is causing people unbelievable anxiety because there are a lot of older people who've worked all their lives, getting ready to retire or already retired, and they rely on their Social Security. If they don't have it, they can't support themselves and their housing and all of this kind of stuff. And the prices of things are going through the roof with these tariffs. And eggs are up to like $12 a carton in some places. Down, they were at $4 when Biden was in office. So it's just incredible what's going on here. And I foresee there's difficult financial times ahead, especially for people. We know people who have limited incomes are going to be the ones that suffer the most when when these prices go through the roof and all of this kind of stuff, or if they're not getting their Like there was a guy who was just apoplectic on some radio show talking about his insulin was $8 under Biden. And now it's $80 because that rebate was taken away. Yeah. And mm, yeah, and yeah, and some of the and it's fine for an organization or a government to decide to change priorities, but the fact it was done so haphazardly is causing maximum pain and firing people saying they didn't do a good job when that is not the truth. And yeah, and so they can't get unemployment. And I mean, it's just so much. Everybody I know, you'll find out if you haven't already. You got full exposure of Virgo topics, of people feeling a sense of loss because someone in their life's having a health problem. For me, it's my dog. Someone's passing away. I've heard from a couple people about someone they love dying recently. People out of work because of what's going on. Yeah, things like that. You thought somebody was coming to visit you, Venus retrograde from Canada. They're not coming to the US because they're boycotting. Canada is together, strong. They've got a new national anthem to the tune of I Will Survive by Gloria. Is it Gloria Gaynor? Yeah. 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 And yeah, what if you're standing in your house and your lights go out because the president he's going to get crazier and crazier and more erratic because Jupiter's coming to his Uranus in his natal chart. And who knows what is the next escalation? It feels like he's just making it up as he goes. He talked about putting 125% tariff on something. I mean, it's just crazy. And I know there are a lot of people in the streets already fighting for this. So I commend everyone. I took part of the economic boycott in February 28th. And I was talking last year on Instagram about boycott, the Montgomery bus boycott. And this economic boycott, we're boycotting Amazon for a week. I got to figure out when the week is, but pay attention. There's something called 5051 or something that's organizing a lot of these, putting an economic pressure on companies. Their main focus was like with the DEI, but letting companies know we are not happy with what is going on, who are supporting this. I think it's an authoritarian. Well, we know they're trying to become a fascist. They're trying to turn America into a fascist state. We've got to fight against it. This is my perspective. These are my thoughts. This is how I'm interpreting the astrology. You can interpret it however you want, but this is what I am seeing and how I am interpreting it. So I hope this was helpful. Yeah. Yeah, and I hope you take good care of yourself. I really feel like we will get through this, but it's tough times. Yeah, it's just tough times right now. But using all your tools, staying grounded, stocking up a little bit, meditating, using your breath, all these kinds of things are what I'm recommending for people as we go through this difficult time. And this too shall pass. It's going to be a couple of years of difficulties for sure. But yeah, so this is what I'm seeing. I hope this wasn't too much of a downer, but it's the energy is heavy. The sun is conjunct Saturn at the eclipse. It is heavy, like a heavy wet blanket. Saturn is a malefic. It's hardship. It's pressure. But it's a success with earned success. So if you fight hard if you just really work to maintain your focus and grounding and just put your head down, get your work done if you can, stay on track. Don't let all the distractions, get you all crazy. It will be okay. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Take good care.